Alrighty. A lot to talk about.
Yes, sir. Plenty to talk about.
As the bomberos pass by.
That's right. We're this is life to tape, ladies and gentlemen. These things happen.
All right. How about we just start with Halloween Havoc this Wednesday. Looks like it should be a fun show. They're hyping it up, even though I struggled to find the card, but
I hope so. I hope it's a good show.
All right, let's run down the card real quick. All right, it looks like we're gonna have a Haunted House of Terror match. At least they have something for Dexter Lumis to do that actually fits his character, even though we're kind of sick of his character. But you got Cameron Grimes, who's the perfect guy to scare the shit out of, if you ask me, going against Dexter Lumis.
Yeah, Haunted House of Horrors match?
Haunted House of Terror match.
Haunted.
I imagine it's going to be, they're going to be on location somewhere. It's going to be like a Bray Wyatt style cinematic. My thing with this is that I'm just sick of Dexter Lumis. He's a creepy baby face, or you're trying to make me believe he's a creepy baby face, kind of stalkerish, who's supposed to be scary, but he's not. He's big, but he's not that big to be. He's trying to scare guys his same size. And again, why is the baby face being a stalker? It doesn't work for me. He'd be better off as a heel or changing the gimmick. He's a really good athlete. He does good, cool shit that doesn't match his gimmick. And they obviously can't make this gimmick work. But here's a shot at redemption. Finally, something that works for him, that matches his character.
Well, I like Sam Shaw.
I like Sam Shaw better than Dexter Lumis, that's for sure.
But I like Sam Shaw, but I'm not a fan of Dexter Lumis. I think Dexter Lumis's gimmick is a perfect heel character that could be turned to babyface, but you have to get him over as a heel first. And it was never established that he was a heel, and they never really established him as an over heel in NXT. So it makes little to no sense for me to see him as a babyface. I like Cameron Grimes a lot. I think that this will be a fun match, but at the end of the day, if the purpose of this is to use it to try to, elevate Dexter Lumis' stock and make him look like a bigger star, I don't think it's going to serve its purpose at the end of the day, quite frankly.
All right, we got Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez, who has been looking a lot better. She's in really good shape. Her work is getting better little by little. So a great opportunity for her to show what she can do. Who you got?
Oh, well, I mean,
obviously going to whip that ass.
Here's the thing, right? Again, I keep saying this all the time, but, Rhea Ripley really doesn't belong in the NXT women's roster anymore. I understand why they have her there, because she is, again, I'm sound like a broken record, but she is the star of the NXT women's roster, bar none. There are no exceptions, including Io Shirai, and she's the champion. Now, I agree with you. This is a great opportunity for Raquel Gonzalez because it's a high-profile match for her. She's obviously working against the biggest star in the NXT women's division. They have a lot of history together. Obviously, they don't talk about it that much because it's not totally pertinent to this story. But, they came up together. They were tag team partners together, before Rhea Ripley became Rhea Ripley, the big star. So I think that this is going to be a good match. It's going to be more a matter for Rhea Ripley to help raise Raquel Gonzalez's stock. Raquel Gonzalez is not going to win this match. She's not. But again, it's more a matter. It's just kind of the same thing with Kyle O'Reilly when he worked against Balor. It's not a matter of him winning the match because that's not, it's a foregone conclusion that he would lose. It's more a matter of whether or not Raquel Gonzalez at the end of this comes out looking better to where she's a standalone talent. If she comes up, big in this match, you're going to start seeing then WWE begin the process of separating her from Dakota Kai and moving her as her own singles. But a lot of that is going to depend upon how this match turns out on Wednesday night.
All right. We got Candice LeRae against Io Shirai. I think Io Shirai is going to win. But I wouldn't be surprised if Candice won. I think they have a lot of really good female talent. But I think it'd be cool to shake things up. Candice, I'm not fully into her character, her as a heel. I don't love it, but I do love her in-ring work. And if you compare it to the rest of the heels, she stands out as one of the bigger, stars in NXT. So I'm not fully invested in her character, and I think that NXT Women's title does have some prestige to it. Some big stars have held that title. They've usually done a good job. And it's been some awesome reigns, so I don't know if she necessarily deserves it. But I think she'd do a good job as a, nasty little heel, and she'd have good matches. Even though Io Shirai is having good matches, but I'm a little bit bored right now with Io Shirai.
Well, I can understand where you're coming from, right? For my flavor, I think that Dakota Kai is probably the best, worker of the bunch in terms of the heel side, right? Candice LeRae is probably a close second, but I'll put Dakota Kai.
I think Candice is a better worker, but heel worker, then I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I think Dakota Kai, pulls it off a lot better. But in this match, it's weird because I generally don't like seeing rematches this close. And generally speaking, if you want the storyline to continue, that means that the person who lost has to win in order to keep it moving. However, after seeing the emergence of Toni Storm and then seeing Ember Moon back in NXT, it almost seems to me like it seems like a better long-term plan to keep the belt on Io Shirai and have her work against Ember and Toni. And again, I think that if anybody should beat Io Shirai, quite frankly, it should be Toni Storm. I don't think that Candice LeRae, she doesn't have enough juice behind her persona right now to make this work. So I think that they'll have a good match. She'll get closer, but ultimately Io Shirai will win.
All right. By the way, they have that damn wheel.
Yeah, let's bring back that old spin the wheel, make the deal gimmick. It's a fun little gimmick. Don't get me wrong. It's just a.
I think NXT needs to do stuff like this because the show can be a little boring, or not. The matches are not boring, but the show feels the same every week.
It's stale. That's what
it's good. It's good to switch it up. It's Halloween. They're going to use Halloween Havoc. It's something different that, why not? Why not? But Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest are going to spin that wheel for the North American title. I don't know why, but I have a feeling Johnny and Candice are both going to win. I don't know why. But yeah, that's just I just really feel like they're going to win.
That's the whole thing, man. I really hope not. This is the reason why I'm saying this, right? Because Damian Priest has emerged as, at least to my eyes, has emerged as one of the best up and coming talents that they have in NXT, probably in the WWE. The man has great size. He's got presence. His work is good. He's got bass in his voice. He sounds like a grown adult man. He's cool. Like everything that you'd want from a wrestling personality, Damian Priest has it. My concern is putting him in the ring against Johnny Gargano. Listen, Gargano's a fantastic worker. This is not a matter of me saying that technically he can do everything. He's a technical wizard. However, when you take a look at the presentation, Johnny Gargano is like 5'7" and 200 pounds, and you look at Damian Priest, who's 6'7" and 250, 260 pounds, and yet Gargano is just. It takes Damian Priest 20 minutes to beat Gargano in an ultra competitive match.
I'm not even worried about the time. The last time they fought, it was a 50-50 match.
That's the point. It shouldn't be a 50-50 match. It shouldn't. And that's the thing. When I'm asking in my mind is whether or not WWE is doing the right by Damian Priest, is meaning you could put him in there against Johnny Gargano and you can continue telling these stories, but it just kind of seems like they're trying to get all of this heat on Gargano, but when you take a look at it visually, it looks kind of ridiculous to have Gargano get this kind of heat on Damian Priest when Gargano as a personality, not as a technical in-ring wrestler, as a personality, has a very small and tiny personality next to Damian Priest. It almost seems like Gargano is trying really, really hard to get a personality out of himself, versus when you look at Damian Priest, it's natural, it's cool, it flows. He is who he is. And the thing is, Gargano is a technical wizard in the ring, and Damian Priest is a good worker, good big man worker. He doesn't have to be the hold for hold scientific guy, because that doesn't befit his presentation. But it almost seems like if this match is another 50-50 bout, then I have to start questioning whether or not WWE is doing the right by Damian Priest and having him work in these ultra competitive matches against guys that visually, from a presentation perspective, are so much smaller than him and don't have enough personality to be able to carry that off to where you as the audience member would be okay with that. There's got to be more to it. It'd be different if Damian Priest was the heel and Gargano was the babyface. Then it'd be slightly different, because then the technical wizardry will work. But Gargano's the heel, and the heel has to be able to kind of carry a bigger personality in terms of talking people into the building and making that happen. And he's just not that guy. I'm sorry, he's just not it.
All right. So do you have any fond memories of Halloween Havoc? They're bringing it back. Anything? Well, I'll tell you mine. The first thing that literally pops into my head anytime anyone says Halloween Havoc is Rey Mysterio with the purple gimmick, the full purple outfit. I'll never forget it. And what year was that? Do you remember? Is that
I believe that is 1998.
All right.
Don't quote me on that, but that's my guess, is 98.
Who did he face?
I think he wrestled against either Eddie Guerrero or Dean Malenko.
Okay. The shit with Ray is that he was always opening those shows, like 96, 97, 98. It feels like he's always early on in the show, and he's having a match against a stud, whether it's Dean or Eddie or whatever. But I do remember that visual of Rey Mysterio coming out with his music. He had that interesting, almost like a scary kind of music, whatever. Like
I never understood that music. It just
it felt like a big scary guy was coming out. It was this little guy, but it's because his name is Mysterio, so it's supposed to be mysterious.
Yeah.
But I always remember him with the purple on. I thought that was a really cool look for him, and he tore the house down. I just don't remember.
And the thing about it is that I don't know how I got this action figure. I actually had that action figure at home.
You have him with the purple?
Yes, I did. I know that I didn't purchase it. I don't know who gifted it to me.
It is Eddie. So is it that? Oh yeah, because Eddie's trying to take the mask the whole damn time.
I think so. Yeah, I think that Rey Mysterio. I don't know if Mysterio was the cruiserweight champion or if he was challenging for the belt. I don't remember, but I know the cruiserweight title was, I think, was in play in that particular match.
It was. 97, by the way.
Okay, so I was off. I was off by a year. This would have been
what's your moment?
I'm sorry. Mine, Kali. Mine. I forget. I don't know what year this is. I think it's 1991, and this is just so horrible. It's terrible. I think it was an 8-man tag match where the gimmick of the match was that they had an electric chair in the middle of the ring.
Oh God!
And the loser,
the loser has to get electrocuted.
Yes, it was horrible. I swear, the reason why this sticks in my mind is because the match was so horrible that it's one of those things where you can't forget it. And I know that Abdullah the Butcher ended up being in the chair. And when they turned the gimmick on, it was like the lights in the building were obviously supposed to like blink, but they pulled the lever down and there's like enough space in between where you're like, oh, somebody goofed that up. And then Abby does this fake, shaking thing on the chair. And then, there was nothing. There's no blood. There's no, no fried head, nothing. It was just like, I just watched that and I was like, oh my God. Like it's one of those matches where I could probably, if I want to get a laugh and how bad wrestling could be back then, that's like my perfect example. It's like there are very few matches worse than that one. I know the Steiners were in it. I know the Cactus Jack was in it. Abdullah the Butcher was in it. I think Vader was in that match. Yeah, but it was just horrific.
Anything good? Any matches people should go watch?
Wow. It's weird when I think of Halloween Havoc. The Halloween Havoc that I really liked was Halloween Havoc. I think is 1989. They have a 1989.
It might be the first one, or you might have the wrong year.
I know that I don't know if it was 89 or 90. But I know that they had a match. I know that Doom wrestled against Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. That was a good match. I believe Lex Luger wrestled against Brian Pillman, which was another good match.
All right. So 89 is Freebirds defeated Renegade Warriors. Steiner Brothers defeated Nasty Boys. Junkyard Dog versus Moondog Rex. Doom wrestled Ric Flair and Arn. Stan Hansen versus Lex Luger. Sting versus Sid Vicious. So
Okay.
So it must be. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's 90. Sorry, 89. Doom against Steiners. First of all, I got to see that.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of those good matches. Like sometimes in my memory, I know that I've seen the events, but sometimes I don't.
Doom against the Steiners, and they went 15 minutes. I got to see that.
Boy, I'm surprised they lived through that.
They might not. That had to be a stiff one. Luger and Pillman.
Yep.
For the U.S. title, and that went 17 minutes. This is like a work rate show, right?
Nah, Brian. Let me tell you something. I was a huge fan, and I know that with Brian Pillman, God rest his soul. I mean, a lot of people. I got a chance. The only part of Brian Pillman's career that I didn't get to see was when he was in Calgary. But when he got to WCW, he was really young, and I was a huge fan of the smiling babyface Flying Brian. I really loved that gimmick because I could tell that even though he was a babyface, he was a take no shit kind of guy, and I really appreciated that. There was just something about Pillman's persona when he got into the ring. It's like I was always wanting to see his matches. I thought he was excellent in the ring.
And if you see his boy Pillman Jr., he looks just like him, and his physique is starting to explode. He's starting to get a little thick. I'm like, whoa.
The only thing I would say to Brian Pillman Jr. is get a different haircut, bro.
It does make him look more like his dad. I kind of like it.
I guess so. I just don't like
charming.
I don't like the haircut though. Everything else looks great though.
I'm sure he'll grow it out once he gets over. Then he can start doing his own little tweak on the character. But he has a lot of promise.
Listen, man. From what I've seen, of him in AEW, he looks like he can be a somebody. It's just a matter of AEW giving him an opportunity to be that somebody.
Yeah, I think he will. You just got to give him a couple years. But he's moving along quick. He's very young in the business. So let's see what happens. All right, let's go to Retribution. I'll tell you the one thing about Retribution. I don't necessarily like anything that they've done with Retribution. However, we've been talking about Retribution every week consistently. So at least they're getting attention. People do want to see what happens with them. I don't know if that'll be the same after this week, though, because this was embarrassing. This was completely embarrassing. I will say that Mustafa Ali came out like I knew he would. He cut a promo, and he explained a lot of things, and like I said, Mustafa Ali does get some leeway. They like his promo style. He's a smart dude, man. And when they made him leader, I was like, I think he'll do a decent job of trying to make sense of it and trying to explain it. And he'll do his best of trying to, remove some of the garbage. So I thought the promo was pretty good, all things considered. They didn't give him a lot to work with, right? He's coming into a shit show. And it's funny. I don't know if they're working on a new mask for him. He hasn't been coming out with his light up mask, which is fine. But it would make sense for him to have some sort of mask. Everyone has a mask except for him. But they get Retribution, the heels, get shitted on by the Hurt Business, who are apparently the bigger, badder heels, because right, they come out, they shit on them, get them out of here. This is all happening. There's also teases with the, I was certain that Bray Wyatt was about to be the leader of Retribution. When they were surrounding him in the ring and they faced the camera,
that would have worked, and I would have been okay with that.
He would have saved them, that's for sure. Or if he could gain control, even if he wasn't the leader, but he's like, fuck it, now I'm your leader. I'm your leader because I want to be your leader. Maybe he is not their leader, but after Raw went off the air, I thought, wow, Retribution is Bray Wyatt's bitch. This is all very confusing. It's all kind of embarrassing. Yeah, it's all really, really weird for me. None of it makes any sense. I think I feel bad for everyone involved.
Listen, this is the epitome, unfortunately for WWE, of what I was feared for this group, meaning you had a cool concept in theory, but you didn't have an end game for them. And once you get too pregnant, you walk into this situation and you have to kind of give some kind of a payoff. And this has just been one botch after another, after another, after another. It's just been a cacophony of screw ups from the jump with this particular gimmick and idea. When they have Retribution first start out, they got the lights flickering, they have the cameras that come in, and you see these small children, breaking, the electric cords and destroying their generators and all that stuff. Then they come in, there's like 100 of them, and they scare off all the wrestlers and everybody in the building. And then what does WWE do? Hey, we reward them with contracts. All right, so, for all the guys who got furloughed and got fired from WWE, over the last few months, all they had to do is just put on a mask and, smash up a few windows. They get a new contract. Then from there, they go through the process of, let's give a reveal here. So what do? We take 5 NXT stars that 4 of them had been on TV every week prior to them doing the reveal for Retribution. WWE did a lousy job of attempting to hide their identities. It's to the point where anybody who watches WWE programming can spot it a mile away.
Lou, you know what really sucks? That it was all unnecessary. Once they did the reveal, even though they were still masked, we knew who they were. Like this. The only one I didn't know was the hockey mask.
And he was the only one that was like...
I don't know who that is. But for them to... The problem is that right there they could have went, oh no, it's Dijakovic, it's Mercedes, it's whatever, Mia Yim. Yeah. That's all they had to do, and it would at least... They just dumping shit on top of shit. It's like, you're making it worse. We know who they are. Just acknowledge who they are. Don't go, oh no, they're wearing masks. We still don't know who they are. These mysterious people by the name of T-Bar and all these funny names from 90s cartoons.
Yeah, just these names look like we're watching Ninja Turtles from the early 90s.
Yes. Yep, absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Just call them Bebop and Rocksteady, but
one of my favorites. I love them.
But listen, everything is just then what you do is ostensibly you turn the Hurt Business babyface, even though they're not really baby faces, but you ostensibly turned them babyface because when the Raw roster was going to fight against Retribution, who were the guys that led the charge? The Hurt Business.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing if it's Drew McIntyre and a group of baby faces, then it makes sense, but not the lead heels on the show. Or probably the second lead heels on the show, probably next to Randy Orton. It makes no sense. Now this week, you have them work against each other. So you have Retribution who are heels versus the Hurt Business who are heels. You have Bobby Lashley tap out Dijakovic and he tapped him, which I'm like, God, you have 150 guys on the WWE roster that Lashley can do that to. Why did you have to do that to Dijakovic on that night? Unnecessary, just dumb. Then after the match is over, Bray Wyatt reappears after, in the ring and then proceeds to beat up all 4 guys by himself.
And he basically took a page out of Cesaro's playbook and did the Cesaro's hot tag style of comeback. Like he comes and destroys everybody in 10 seconds.
Yup. And then the Hurt Business is out on the floor watching, almost looking like they're going to get themselves a hot dog and a soda and watch the show. Like, it's just, come on, man. What WWE really did here, if they took this and now, no matter what Mustafa Ali does, and again, Mustafa Ali is a guy that I would probably personally like very, very much. But he was never over as a babyface, truly over as a babyface. So I don't care that he's a heel. I don't. And yes, he cuts good promos, and yes, he's trying to make chicken salad out of chicken poop. I got you. But he's got a long way to go. And with all due respect to him, it has nothing to do with his look or his presentation. It has to do with the way that he's been positioned on WWE TV. He's never been positioned as anything more than a mid-card babyface who would never been pushed to be anything special. And that has nothing to do with his talent, because the man is extremely talented. But to try to put him at the helm of this group, again, it would have made more sense had they united them with Bray Wyatt. And I'm like, okay, we got something here. But what did you do? Is Bray Wyatt now a babyface? Then that basically makes
it's like everyone.
Listen, it's confusing, and I know the thing about it is for me is that I don't want nuance in story that would make me, and I consider myself a fairly intelligent guy, to watch the screen and have to verbally speak out loud. What am I watching? What am I seeing? It made no sense.
I like nuance when there's a payoff. The problem is we know that in 2 weeks, it'll be like this never happened, and the Fiend will go back to a totally different direction, and the Hurt Business will go back to being heels. So they basically, it's like, I don't know, whatever.
It's not good. It's not good. And in all honesty,
at the end of the day, if people were getting over, then none of this necessarily matters. But I don't think anyone's getting over.
Nobody. Listen, nobody's getting. And here's the thing about it: not a single person that we just mentioned got any more over after this. The Hurt Business are in no better position than they were when that started. Bray Wyatt is in no different position, and Retribution, if anything, is getting knocked down the totem pole even further. So,
yeah, I think we're starting to see the end of Retribution. I could easily see them falling way down the card. They already got rid of Mercedes Martinez. I don't know what happened, but
yeah, and now when Mercedes Martinez magically reappears on NXT, are we to believe that she took a 6-week hiatus after she lost to Rhea Ripley? Like, it just
exactly
dumb, just dumb. I'm sorry.
Real quick, I saw I feel like I saw a picture saying the Fiend against, is it T-Bar? What's Dijakovic's character?
T-Bar.
T-Bar. I saw that image. Was I hallucinating? Or do you know if that match is gonna happen?
I didn't see that, so
I saw that image somewhere. I just can't remember because I've been watching so much shit lately. Maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, let's talk about Hell in a Cell coming up.
Oh boy.
Jeff Hardy versus Elias. Elias coming back after being gone for I don't know how long.
Don't care. Don't care.
Okay, don't care. Okay, Miz against Otis.
Don't
for
care.
the Money in the Bank contract.
Don't care.
There's no way they take this off of Otis, right?
Here's the thing, right? Do I think they're going to take it off of Otis? The answer is no, because with all due respect, as much as I could admire the Miz for his perseverance and his full body of work over 15 years in the WWE, if you put the Money in the Bank briefcase on him, with all due respect, it's in no different position than they have it with Otis. It's in no different position.
The only way I'd want to see Money in the Bank on the Miz would be if Daniel Bryan was champion, because they have some of the best chemistry I've ever seen, and it's never fully been paid off. Which when I say paying it off, I mean paying it off at Mania, because they have that kind of chemistry, but we're never gonna get that probably.
You're not gonna see that match at WrestleMania, bro.
All right, and apparently we have 3 Hell in a Cell matches.
Too many. Way too many.
More than one is too many, but I get it. They put themselves into this corner because they have these pay-per-views with the name of the stip, and you have to force yourself to. I don't believe in that. I believe the stip should be used when you need it, when it makes sense.
Correct.
And it sucks that you don't have great pay-per-view names, because I get it. It's not, you're nice and organized. You have Hell in a Cell, and you have Elimination Chamber, Royal Rumble, and da-da-da. It's nice and easy, and it's hard to get a pay-per-view that means something, right? Because at least when you have a stip, the pay-per-view is named after the stip. It's very easy. That's what makes that pay-per-view unique. But if you're not SummerSlam or Mania, then it's hard. But I think it's better to have the matches, when you need them, and you do them as you need them. But we got 3. They're trying, because at least they're making the Roman Reigns, Jey Uso one, and I Quit Hell in a Cell match. These 3 matches are going to be, at least they're going to be different from each other. I'm sure they'll all be fine. It's just too many. They're, whatever. You got Drew McIntyre against Randy Orton. You got Roman Reigns against Jey Uso. And you got Sasha Banks against Bayley. So at least on paper, 3 huge matches. Big stars, big storylines. Really decent work. Drew and Randy, I say, has been pretty good. They've had some stuff I didn't like, but for the most part, they work really well together. It's probably just going on too long. Roman and Jay is awesome, completely awesome. I have no complaints. My only complaint is that it's wrestling, and you have baby faces, you have heels. Jey Uso's doing a great job, but what's the ultimate payoff for him? That's it. He's just a guinea pig. It's like, we're just going to throw him in there. He's going to do the best work of his life, and then that's it. Throw him away. What's next for Jey Uso? That's very important. Don't waste the momentum you've given him, because Roman Reigns is going to be all right.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
And Sasha versus Bayley, which I don't want to happen. I want Bayley not to show up. I don't care. People will get mad. Why did you promote the match if you're not going to have it? Fuck you. I don't care. Don't have this match. Bayley's going to... Don't show up, Bayley. She was forced to sign the contract under duress. I like how on commentary, what's his name?
Corey Graves.
Corey Graves goes, you can't do that, which is true. You cannot do that. I know in WWE's booking, he pointed out a fucking error in logic, probably accidentally, but he's right. You cannot do that. That's bullshit. That is illegal. You can, what are you, the mob? Like, what's going on here? Sasha Banks.
Yeah, signed it under duress. That's correct.
Yeah, even though they're gonna go through with it, because it's whatever, it's wrestling. But I'm hoping they back out. I don't care it won't be the first time that they didn't fucking honor something that they were gonna do. So who cares? I want this match. I want this feud to last till Mania, damn it. It's too early. It's not gonna make it. This is the biggest match in wrestling for me. Two girls on top of their game. They've been killing it consistently across 3 brands. They deserve for this to be epic. This is a bad start. Bad WWE. Where do you go from here?
This is see, Victor. I agree with you, right? Now here's the deal. I listen. I love Bayley and I love Sasha Banks. I think they're both fantastic. Do I want to see them wrestle against each other? Yes. Do I want them to see them wrestle in the Hell in the Cell? No. This match has This match has no business being in the Cell. None. Because yes, they have a ton of history, and WWE can point out to 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago when they were in NXT. They can point to that. Here's the problem. It's not pertinent to the story, the current story that they're telling. And you do that on purpose. You purposely omit those things from the story so that as it begins to grow and you slowly build it to WrestleMania, then you can get to that big climax match. And if you want to put it in the Hell in the Cell, then after them having wrestled maybe a dozen matches on TV, people might get sick of it. But if all the matches are good, when you get into the Cell, you know this is it. After that, these two are not going to be seen working either as a team or as opponents for an extended amount of time. So it has no business being in the cage. Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, with all due respect, shouldn't even be on this show, period. The ambulance match that they had at the last pay-per-view event should have been it for now. They should have separated them. The problem is that unfortunately they have no opponents for Drew McIntyre. So they have to go back to Orton. And the thing is, after the ambulance match, now you go to Hell in a Cell. Now where do you go from there? You know, it's either, because let's say that Orton wins the championship, you got to continue the story. But if Drew wins, then it's over. Who's next? And that's the question. Now, the only match that should be in Hell in a Cell is Roman Reigns against Jey Uso. However, the fact that they put the I Quit stipulation is stupid. You're putting a hat on top of a hat. The gimmick is the cage. The cage is the gimmick. Nothing else. The way that you make this match work is that from Roman Reigns' perspective, he's like, I'm not finished until you say I'm the chief. That's the drama and the story of that match. For Jey Uso, he wants to win the title. He's not going to. He's not going to. The whole idea of this is for Roman Reigns to break him down to the point where the Usos become his, I guess his minions, but not that there's always some tension that eventually when it's time for Roman Reigns to lose, the Usos have a play in that. And whoever's going to beat Roman Reigns, because it's not going to be Jimmy Uso and it's not going to be Jey Uso, they will be involved in helping Roman Reigns lose the title. Or helping the other guy, whoever beats Roman Reigns eventually. But this match, to put a hat on top of a hat, it's like, come on, damn it. You don't have to do that. Roman Reigns will literally beat Jey Uso down to the point where he could get the 3 count with his pinky. He doesn't care. He's going to grab him and he's going to rip at him and say, call me the chief. Call me the chief, call me the chief. And until he does, he ain't going to stop. And guess what? You can't stop the match. It's to the point where the referee wants to throw in the towel. The referee's like, yo, man, you've done enough. And Roman Reigns will literally look at the referee and I'm like, if you ring that bell, you know what's coming to you. It's all about building Roman Reigns as a heel. That's what Jey Uso's out there for. Putting the stipulation of, an I Quit match in the steel cage is stupid. It's either one gimmick or the other. Don't do both. If it's in the cage, that's the gimmick. Roman Reigns' perspective is, I'm not going to stop beating your ass until you call me the High Chief. Until you get there, we're not stopping. And that's the story. That's the drama of the match. That's what I'm saying. Only one cage match. That's the only one that should be in the cage for that reason, because it gives Roman Reigns, from the heel perspective, a reason to physically break his cousin and break him in half, and in quarters and in eighths and in sixteenths if he has to, until he calls him the chief and he breaks him down. That's the only thing that's there.
Okay. So, how about you sell the people on NXT UK? I do not watch, so I can't do it. So how about you sell me on it? You've been high on it lately.
Sure, yeah. And listen, NXT UK has been back on the air on WWE Network for roughly, give or take, about 5 or 6 weeks now. That they were able to finally get the clearance, and they're at the I think they're, I don't know if it's where they're at. I forget. I know that they're in a studio and they record, they're recording all their episodes. They have all their top stars. What they're doing is, for those fans, if you're really enjoying Ring of Honor and the Pure Tournament, pretty much what they're doing at NXT UK is a similar format with the Heritage Cup Tournament. Now, the way that the Heritage Cup Tournament works is you have matches, which I believe they're 5 rounds. I don't know if it's 5 or 6 rounds, 3 minutes each, with 20-second rest periods. So it kind of looks like a boxing.
That's how. There's some old British wrestling was done like that with rounds.
Correct. So they bring that back. The way that it works is, you can win. Like, let's say if you get a certain number of falls. Like, let's say if you get a fall in the first round. Let's say 2 minutes in, that round is over. You go to the break. Round 2 starts, and it's like a new fall. So if let's say in the 5 rounds, if you get, let's say for example, and if you wrestle all 5 rounds and you win 3 falls, you win. Or if you knock the guy out, fight's over. Match is over. They use a lot of technical wrestling here. It's not as stringent, the rules, as the Pure Tournament in Ring of Honor, meaning the thing about the rope breaks and the fists and things like that. WWE doesn't use those rules. They don't enforce them in the Heritage Cup Tournament. But what I love about it is that it's physical, it's simple storytelling. The announcers, Nigel McGuinness, God bless him, he has been fantastic on NXT UK. He's done a fantastic job. I'm upset that I can't remember his partner's name, because he does a great job too, in terms of being the straight man and explaining everything. And being able, for me as a US wrestling fan who knows some about the UK wrestling scene, but I'm not as well versed, that I can easily sit down, watch that show, and every single guy there is sold to me, meaning I know enough of their backstory to think like, all right, these guys are legit. When they're in the ring, they're wrestling, and none of it looks like BS. And at the end of it, I may not be convinced that, hey, such and such is a star, but at least I want to watch them again. And that's really the best that you can hope for, is that when you watch something, you may not be completely sold the first time around, but you'll be okay coming back to it. And that's how you build the relationship. So for those fans who really just like straight pro wrestling, both male and female pro wrestling, NXT UK is providing it. This past week was a great tag team match, because I finally got to see Walter, which I haven't seen Walter in months. And I just, I can't say enough good things about him. I know that I think this coming week, he's going to be defending the title against a Russian wrestler. I think his name is Ilya Dragunov.
Dragunov, yeah. I like him.
And I like him a lot. Dragunov is just, he's got just a ton of charisma, and he's really, really good. And I know that match is going to be physical, it's really the style that I like. I like the good physical style. Walter is, I would love to see Walter in the WWE main roster, quite frankly, because I think that he brings a different style, and he would make a fantastic opponent for many people, meaning I would love to see him wrestle against Drew McIntyre, quite frankly. I think that he'd make a great opponent for him in the future, but you got to build him there. But realistically, for those fans who love just straight wrestling, no BS, it's a 1-hour show. It flies by. I mean, it goes by in no time, and they have very little filler. It's a lot. It's about 80% wrestling, 10% promos, and then 10% billboards. So it's really, I think it's a great show. I would say for those fans, take a look at it. Give it a look, because I think that if you just like straight wrestling, especially what unfortunately we're getting here, in the United States in terms of what our wrestling looks like, this is a huge difference, and I think you would like it a lot.
All right. Finally, the man, the myth, the legend, Pat effing McAfee.
Wow, that was a huge intro there, man. Huge.
That man deserves it. He deserves it, if you ask me.
Well,
However, he's been put in a little bit of a weird situation here.
No kidding.
Where the focus is not necessarily entirely on him. Maybe the powers that be aren't that confident in him just yet. Maybe they want to get him going slowly, have some teammates to work with, work off, so he doesn't have to have a bunch of matches. He can do a lot of talking, which he's great at. He's a heat-seeking missile, obviously. So he came out to help Oni and Birch, and they turned heel on Breezango, which is not really a big deal, I guess. But them turning heel is kind of cool. They kind of I like their style. So if you can give them some personality, some character, and if he's there to help them with that, and he's going to cut promos for them and help them generate heat, I think he can do that. I think, NXT's tag situation is really poor. So they got to do something. At least we know that Birch and Lorcan can have good matches. They're very intense, very physical. And they have some direction, so let's see where it goes. I wish it was something better for McAfee to do. But if this is his, if this is what he's gonna do for the next 3 months, 4 months, whatever, and if he gets the confidence of the people in charge, then maybe he'll get something better to do. But this is what we got for now.
Well, I kind of take a different position. I think that really with Pat McAfee, once he got revealed, he became the centerpiece of the entire deal.
No, I do think he's the centerpiece.
He's the centerpiece. I mean, think about it. I was upset by the bait and switch that we got, meaning, it's supposed to be Fish and Strong against Breezango, which again, I'd look at that match and I'm like, any version of the Undisputed Era that we get against Breezango should win. Any two of the four, doesn't matter who it is. They beat Breezango every time. And what ends up happening is that at that point, we get into a situation where we have that match occurs. Then we have Bobby Fish gets laid out. Then, okay, we're gonna replace him with O'Reilly. All right, perfect. Then Roddy Strong gets knocked out. So now the Undisputed Era is done. What do? We're going to put Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch as the replacements. Okay, so now we have a match that on paper nobody cares about. Breezango are the champions and they're not over. And then Lorcan and Burch, as much as I like their style, I do agree with you, I like their style, they are not over either. Who cares? So then you get to the 3/4 of the way through the match, just where we're getting to the ending. You had the masked man, the way that they covered him up, he looked like another member of Retribution, came through. Then we have, I think Danny Burch hits the low blow. They hit their finish, 1, 2, 3. They're the new NXT tag champions. Okay, who cares, right? They win the titles. All right, good for you. But then when he reveals himself and it's Pat McAfee, I'm like, okay. What essentially happened is that you can tell that even though the camera didn't do this because you couldn't, it almost seemed like McAfee zoomed right to the front and the other two guys are right behind. And even though McAfee is trying to sell Lorcan and Burch, as like this is the big deal. This is why I'm here. Ultimately, it's like, all right, this is a matter of continuing the story between uh, Pat McAfee and the Undisputed Era. It's just a matter that he needs guys to back him up. So you put Lorcan and Birch, but these guys have no personality. They're great wrestlers. But they have no personality. And even though McAfee can do that for them, but eventually what's going to end up happening is that this is designed to then split McAfee off, because McAfee is the star with his mouth. He's the star. And the thing is that with the match he had against Adam Cole, and mind you, even though it's one match, and he's working against probably the best worker in NXT with Adam Cole, he still did a fantastic job, did McAfee, in the ring. So you can only surmise that he's going to get better. But the thing is that if you're trying to elevate Lorcan and Birch as the NXT Tag Champions, maybe not. I'll believe it when I see it. But there's a part of me that is like, I understand why they did it, and I agree with you. The tag team situation in NXT is very, very bleak. But to me, it kind of feels like there should have been another team that could have been in that situation. It's just a matter that NXT doesn't have that team, because there should be somebody else in that spot.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Le Dinner Debonair. I knew you wouldn't like this, but this was great. But I'll let you start so that I can be positive while you be negative.
I will say this, right? I'm going to start this by saying I love MJF. I think MJF is the brightest spot on AEW's programming. However, the fear that I had about pairing him up with Chris Jericho, this is kind of the ultimate end to my fear in terms of doing this. So as much as I love and think of, listen, I'm a big musical theater guy. I've been singing for 20 plus years, done musical theater. All that stuff tickles me, right? I really enjoy watching that. It confirmed to me that Chris Jericho can't sing. It confirmed to me that MJF is a very good singer.
Yeah.
And when I see them doing this whole Rat Pack thing, I can laugh at the fact that, okay, so you have the guy who's a bona fide rock star in his own mind, who can't sing to save his life. You have the guy that is an excellent singer, but never touches that because he's a professional wrestler. He looks like they both look like goofs at the end of this. They have the dancing girls that can't dance. They have comedy that's not funny.
Well, not funny to you.
No, it's not funny. It's just
it was funny to me. It's the loudest it's the best laugh I've had in wrestling for a while.
That's the thing. I'm not against comedy and professional wrestling. I'm not.
Well, you can't be, because the biggest stars of all time are all comedians, damn near.
I'm not against comedy. However, all of those guys, when they were being funny, and you could look at The Rock and Austin and all these other guys, when they were being funny, they're being funny in the context of the characters. They at no point were they ever winking or making fun of the wrestling business.
They're not making fun of the wrestling business.
It comes across that way to me. So I see this, and all I think to myself is, MJF was a guy who, if groomed properly, could be like the next, like, big ultra. What I mean by the ultra white hot heel is that with the audience that loves AEW, he knows how to speak to them in such a way that he can draw heat, like legitimate heat, with that audience. You do all this goofy stuff in which, and again, this is my whole thing. It's about dulling the edges. You can't dull the edges on these guys. And with all due respect to Chris Jericho, because I know that people think, oh, he's doing the greatest work of his life. He's really not. When we're talking about this whole COVID era Chris Jericho, for me, it's been mostly bad. It's mostly eye rolling, and I'm like, dude, no. As much as I could be tickled by the entertainment portion of it, because I do appreciate the musical theater stuff. When I saw it, and again, I wanted to be fair because everybody was I was seeing all these clips online. I was like, no, let me be fair and let me watch it in the context of the whole. And when I watched it in the context of the whole, I was like, I actually enjoyed it more when I just saw the little clip online because I kind of felt kind of funny and tickling. But then when I saw it in the context of the whole, I was like, this is garbage. And I watch it and I'm like, okay, if it's again, this is like, oh, there's going to be a payoff somewhere. I'm like, sometimes it's a matter of I could say this. There are times when people give me the payoff and the stuff that led to the payoff was so bad that at the end, even if it was cool, I don't care. And I'm starting to get the feeling that this is what it's going to end up happening with these two cats.
Absolutely. No. First of all, we are in chapter 1, maybe chapter 2 of the story. They're not nowhere near having a match. MJF has to get himself into the inner circle, right? These are the two douchey.
I got a feeling they're going to wrestle each other at Full Gear, believe it or not.
I mean, of course that's possible. Of course.
I got a feeling that that's where this is heading.
I mean, Jericho's main storyline is with MJF right now. And if you want him on the card, you might have to put him against MJF, or you might have to put him with MJF against somebody else. I don't know what they're going to do. But what I do know is everything is okay. They've thrown little shots at each other, but for the most part, there's really no beef. If anything, they want to work together, and they're trying to figure out how to work together. Look, Jericho's really good at creating moments. Matches, there's 50 matches a week right now happening in wrestling. I'm probably exaggerating, but
no, I don't think you are. I think you might.
I mean, I don't watch every show, but I watch maybe 3 or 4 different companies. So it's almost probably between 40 and 50 matches. If it's a pay-per-view week, there's 2 pay-per-views this weekend. Impact has one, and then WWE has one. So there's going to be a shitload of matches to watch. It's hard to make a memorable match, even if it's great. It's hard for you to remember because there's so many. But Jericho creates memorable moments. His list stuff, the stuff with Kevin Owens, the Festival of Friendship, you'll never forget that stuff. When he listed all the holds, when he was feuding with Malenko, I don't remember watching WCW, but I remember that so vividly. I must have seen it, I must have got lucky and watched that segment. I don't know how, but I remember it from my childhood. And I didn't even watch WCW. I didn't even have cable. I would go downstairs to Omar Stevens' house, and they were WWE fans, so I had to watch WWE. Jason, in the first floor, watched WCW. So if I was lucky enough, I'd go to Jason's house, watch WCW. But either way, Jericho's good at creating these moments that you're not gonna forget this. And that's what this was. It's a moment. MJF now has a moment that will last forever. This moment will last forever. To me, it was funny. To some people, of course, not everybody has the same taste. Of course, to some people it was campy or whatever, or not good enough, not executed good enough to be funny. But to me, you had the 2 perfect guys to pull it off. No one else could probably pull it off. There's players that can pull off certain things that they can't do. But for this situation, MJF was the perfect guy. He might never have a chance to sing again. And he's a great singer. It made sense to me for them to do that. And it's only chapter 1. If they ever fight, I guarantee when it gets nasty, it'll get very, very nasty. MJF style of wrestling, when it gets nasty and serious, it will get nasty and serious. Same thing with Jericho. If it gets nasty and serious, if MJF steals the inner circle from Jericho or pays them off to turn on Jericho, and we get a babyface Jericho fired up against a nasty MJF heel, there is no doubt in my mind that it will be the more traditional, very manly, very physical style that you know, the payoff, that will be worth the payoff. You know, if that's where it eventually goes. Now, if it's rushed and it happens at Full Gear or whatever, it's not enough time for it to have that kind of heat. But when it does, if it takes a year or whatever it does, for me, if that ever happens, I know I am very confident in both performers that I will be very happy with the outcome.
Well, I mean, I'd be very happy with it as well. But, you know, unfortunately, from what I've been seeing recently, I don't have the confidence that that's what we're going to get at the end. So if, you know, if they can get there and that's what we get, I'll be very happy with it. I'm only going by what I saw this week. And again, what I saw this week, yeah, you could say they're creating a moment. You're not wrong about that. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of where is this going to go? And if 6 months from now we're getting to the end of it and I'm still rolling my eyes and thinking that they both look goofy, then it did nothing. It's not, because you got to understand something. If you're building to the future is going to be MJF, not Chris Jericho. Mm-hmm. And you know what you have to do is that if you're gonna build MJF to be the big star that he should be, you got to make sure that whatever you do, no matter how early in the story, is leading you to, it's putting the crumbs down and leading you to that spot. And you can't say wait 6 months or a year, because of the fact that the payoff to this, you have to start having mini payoffs in between. And you know, like I said, I'm willing to give things a chance. What I saw this week, I was like, And you know, knowing with what I've seen out of Jericho over the last few months, you know, I'm not totally convinced that I'll get that, even though MJF is the kind of talent that could be able to pull that off and make it work very, very well, better than some of the other people that Jericho's worked with over the last few months. But, you know, I'm going to take a wait and see approach. What I saw this week, I just thought like, okay, it tickled me in one area, but ultimately, like, no.
Yeah, I mean, they're two douchey heels that are full of themselves, two egomaniacs who are very similar, you know, not exactly the same, but we've had times in Jericho's career where you see this type of character, the one that MJF has, you know, so he can pull from, you know, Jericho of the past. But when it gets serious, whenever it's obviously gonna be Jericho. If Jericho ever turns babyface because of something MJF did to him, I think that's when it changes. The approach completely changes. But anyway, we'll see. Let's go into the tournament.
Sure.
So we had some results. You had Wardlow go over Jungle Boy, which I thought would be the most difficult one. Because both guys.
That was a good match.
Yeah. I think they did do the right thing, because I think Jungle Boy can recover from a loss. I don't think Wardlow losing to Jungle Boy would be good, because Wardlow's only had, I think, like 3 matches.
Well, here's the problem with AEW when they present Wardlow. They were saying, oh, Wardlow's on an 8-match winning streak. Where? I'm asking that question, and I know that the answer is on AEW Dark. If you know that Wardlow's going to be in this tournament, you have to show him on Dynamite. Damn it. Like, show him on Dynamite. Because it's the only way that you can present him winning matches, and then it makes sense. So when he's in the tournament, you could talk about it because it's been on the main show. That's just it.
Well, I'm okay with Wardlow because it's hard with the big guys. I kind of don't want to see the big guys every week because it's tricky, because they're big guys. They look like they can beat the shit out of everybody.
Gosh, matches, man.
No, I know, but
he's probably wrestling tomato cans on AE Dark anyway.
No, I know that. I know. Well, right now it's hard to get on Dynamite.
Put them on Dynamite. So like that, when he has this match against Jungle Boy, then Jungle Boy looks that much better because the main audience has been watching Wardlow squash these tomato cans, and now he's having a hard time with Jungle Boy. It makes more sense because then you can get Jungle Boy that much more over as a sympathetic babyface in losing.
All right. I think everything's gonna be fine. I think it worked out. I think they did it right. I think Jungle Boy can, whenever it's Jungle Boy's time, it'll be Jungle Boy's time. I think He's so smooth. Like he has a really good look. I think he's gonna be a fan favorite for years to come. Like
I agree. I agree with you. It's just a matter that this has nothing to do with the way Jungle Boy is presented. This has more to do with the way that Wardlow's presented, so that when the main audience sees Wardlow, it's again, you haven't seen him wrestle on Dynamite in months, and then the commentators are saying he's on an 8-match winning streak, which means that he's been wrestling presumably every week for the last 2 months. And again, I'm not gonna say nobody watches AEW Dark, but if 50% of the audience that watches the show on TV is watching the YouTube show, that means your audience is really tiny. Put it on Dynamite.
Hangman went over Colt Cabana.
Okay.
Phoenix went over Penta.
Who's now going to wrestle in the next round because Phoenix damn near killed himself doing one of those.
Yes, but Phoenix, to be fair, does one of those every week, and he hasn't missed that much time in his career.
Yeah. So more judicious. That match between Phoenix and Penta was actually.
You like that match?
Hold on.
I know you like that match. Don't tell me you didn't.
In the beginning, no. I liked the first half of the match.
Because this was storytelling, emotional.
Hold on.
I want to hear you say it, damn it.
Hold on. You remember what I did? See, this is exactly the reason why I say it all the time. I love Phoenix and I love Pentagon as singles competitors. I hate them as a team because as a team, they just don't know. They just are incapable of working an American style tag match. And even if you want to employ the lucha stuff, they have no concept of working, try to even attempting to work the American style. But when they work against each other, the matches are usually always very good. In the beginning, I enjoyed the match because obviously Phoenix is being the baby face. He's my brother or whatever. He finally talked them into, shaking the hand and whatever have you. The thing about it is that they showed you that they can work the lucha style really well against each other because they both are very good at the lucha style. So they're working against each other and it makes sense. However, the match started to slip when it got to the point where they're just hitting each other with endless finishing moves and they're kicking out of everything. And I know that to that audience, they're like, that's just the style of match and that's the match that, that they want to see. At some point, you get this being the first round match, again, you got to temper it. If you're going to wrestle this match against each other, what you want to do is you want to leave the audience, leaving them with a bit of a cliffhanger for another match that they'll eventually have later on down the line.
This is as tempered a match from these guys that I've ever seen. This was the most story-driven match. They saved they saved that. The biggest move of the match was the finish. Okay. A super duper destroyer. That destroyer was thick.
Yeah.
I know they had like two dives.
And the 10 moves that preceded that could all have finished the match.
Yeah, but come on, it's wrestling. It's wrestling. There's been plenty of wrestlers whose finish looks like shit, and they got moves way better.
No, it's just
this was a tempered match. They can definitely do more than what they did. They did not do all their shit. They did not get all their shit in. This was driven by story. It was about the story. To me, things were put in the right place. The match started. It built. They had their more Pentagon showing that he cares. Phoenix showing at the beginning that he cares. Pentagon kind of going, fuck it. But eventually, by the end, Pentagon is like, fuck. I kind of don't want to hurt my brother.
And think about it. When Penta hit the move that he would use in Lucha Underground and in other places where he would break his opponent's arm, Phoenix is telling you like his arm is broken, and then 30 seconds later he hits him with the that destroyer gimmick and beats him. And then he's not even turning the arm anymore. Again, these are all little psychological things. I'm like, if you're going to do that, that's the finish.
Well, that's my problem with Shayna Baszler matches. That's kind of why I don't like Shayna Baszler. Every move looks like that move. And none of it leads
but-
to a broken arm or injury or finish. None of it.
But here's the thing. The thing about it is that in Baszler's defense, it's never the announcers don't state it, and even Shayna Baszler, it's never been presented like she's worked other matches where, let's just say that she would have broken somebody's arm in storyline, and that's the finish of the match in a preliminary match that she would have just to shine her. It's never been done. So even though it does injure the opponent and it hurts them, and they're selling it for the rest of the match, it's not intended to the story. When Penta did it, they're just like, oh, he's trying to break his arm, and when he snaps it back, it literally like he's dangling his arm. Phoenix, obviously, he's acting because he did nothing to him, but 30 seconds later, he's not selling it anymore. He hits the finish, he walks away, and then he's celebrating, arms up in the air and everything. I'm like, okay, then that move was wasted. You don't need that move in the match. If you're not going to sell it and it's not going to help Pentagon win the match, there's no point in doing it.
All right, then you had Kenny against Sonny.
That's the best use of both guys in a long time. That's exactly the way that match should have been.
I don't know if that's the best use. The match, I liked how the match went. I like the
scared to death to take the knee drop. I guess he didn't trust Kenny Omega to land it right because Sonny was scared to death to take it. Because you could tell that there was like 2 feet of daylight between Kenny's knee and Sonny's face.
I mean, I don't know. I know it happened quick. It was a out of nowhere knee into the finish. And then I like that every week there is an extra. It's like a heel meter for Kenny, and it's going from 0 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 40. Right now, after that performance, I'd say we're at 75 because nothing he did was heelish necessarily, but he had the over the top entrance. He added to his entrance and the introduction, which was a nice little touch because it's not like they.
Who are they talking to? When Justin Roberts does that, who are they speaking to?
Doesn't matter because all that needs to, like the point of the introduction was for you to go, whoa, Kenny is really full of himself if he forced Justin Roberts to say all this. That's all that matters.
God, who are they speaking to? They're only speaking to the fans who already watched.
You're worried about the wrong things, Lou. I think you're looking for something negative when something that should be very positive. That is an obvious heel thing to do. That is great heel work. You don't think that's great heel work?
No, because the reason why I say that it's not great heel work is because one, it's gotta, for some reason, I don't want to say that it's got to come from Kenny, but the thing is that there was no interaction that was shown that he went to Justin Roberts and strong armed him into doing it. It almost looks like Justin Roberts was just voluntarily doing it with the gusto and all that stuff. All the things that
announcers don't pick the announcement. The announcement comes from the wrestler or the company.
Yeah, guess what? You're gonna tell that every wrestler is just gonna give them their own introduction. Give me a break. No.
Yeah. What do you want me to call you? What do you want me to say?
There's another way that you can have that happen. So where Kenny Omega, it could have been a simple, 20-second video that shows Kenny giving Justin Roberts the card. Justin reads it. He looks at him. Are you kidding me? And he said, "You better read it tonight." Just punking him out.
I don't like that because that's a little bit too in your face for what they're doing. Everything has been like almost like it's happening, but it's not. It's like everything is behind your back.
Listen.
So let's see.
I get what.
What do you think about? Okay, so forget the introduction. What do you think about Kenny's celebration at the end?
Stupid, but I will say this: it's intended for him to be a disingenuous quote unquote babyface, which makes him a heel.
Yes, that's all it needs to be. That's the point. He's disingenuous. He's fake. He's phony. He's full of himself. And now I'm a lot more confident that he will definitely be the heel and Hangman will definitely be the babyface. Even though at times we were not necessarily sure, but I think right there is like, listen, I'm not sure about that. I think the Young Bucks are just going through a crisis, a mental crisis, but I think Kenny is over and done with. He's going to be a heel, but we won't get 100% heel Kenny until he's face to face with Hangman.
Well, all I know is from what I saw this week again, I get all of those things. Is listen, this whole tournament is designed. We already know what the final is going to be. It's going to be Kenny versus Hangman. Like, we already know that. Everything else is just it's fodder, right? No. Listen, when you take a look at everybody else in that tournament, is there anyone who you can legitimately think could have been in the final besides those two guys?
No. I mean,
no. The answer is no.
You could have did some things. You could still have someone shine in the first round or second round. But yeah, the final is meant to be Kenny, and definitely Kenny. Hangman can be screwed out of the final. That's a story you can tell if you choose to.
Who cares? If you here's the thing. It can't be anything other than Kenny versus Hangman. One is because if you do that, then basically you screwed up the match. Number one. Number two is what are you going to have? Are you going to have Wardlow get 2 screw job wins? If they do that, then basically what you're doing is, and you could do this, right?
Wait, did he get a screw job win?
No. But what I'm saying is that if, let's say, Wardlow gets a screw job win on Hangman, and then Hangman returns the favor and gives Wardlow a screw job win over Omega, so that then you have a reason for the two of them to get into
I kind of like that.
It could work, but the thing
I'd rather see the final. I'd rather see the final of Kenny and Hangman. That's the best. That's obviously the best possible outcome. It's when do they want to do? It's the same way I feel. It's certain matches when you put so much effort into a match and it's going to happen for the first time. I know Sasha and Bayley is not happening for the first time, but on WWE television, like, main roster,
this is not their first interaction, but this is for this storyline.
For this story, it's the first match for this story after their breakup. They were together, they had their breakup, and now it's the first match, and it's like it feels important, which is hard to do. So Same thing when Kenny and Hangman meet for the first time. It's a big deal in that world. So I don't know when I want it. That's the thing. Do I want it at Full Gear or whatever, or do I want it in 3 weeks, 4 weeks? I don't want it on TV for sure. It needs to be pay-per-view.
If they don't do it on pay-per-view, guess what? When's the next time they're going to be on pay-per-view? It probably won't be in this calendar year. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Are you going to hold off on them until January, February, whenever they go back on pay-per-view? It's like, no.
Well, Kenny does have to, I think Kenny is on his way to winning that title. So Hangman will probably take it off Kenny eventually. But Chapter 1 was the tag team. Chapter 2 is them meeting in this tournament, hopefully. Then they're going to completely implode. You get the official babyface, official heel. And later on, hopefully that's when if Hangman finally ever wins the title, if he takes it off Kenny, it'll mean so much.
I really have a feeling that they meaning the Elite, and I know I'm talking about Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks. I think that eventually they're all going to turn heel and they're going to be a unit together as heels. Just because
Kenny, Cody, and the Bucks.
Kenny, Cody, and the Bucks. Now the thing is with Cody, I don't care how much they try to present him as a babyface. He comes across as a heel to me. He just does. There's just something about him that I'm like, I just don't buy him as a babyface. He just does. He just seems very disingenuous to me. In character, just comes across as disingenuous. The Young Bucks is just something to me that they're not likable enough personalities to me to be baby faces. So make them heels. And Kenny Omega's in the same category. He's not a likable enough person to be a baby face. It's not about work rate. It's about, do you care about this person? And from a personality standpoint, to me, the answer is no. So make them heels. And maybe with, having heels and then showing off their personalities, then I can start investing in them, hopefully like them, and then if ever they get flipped babyface again, then I may care and may buy them as those baby faces. But the way they're currently presented now, they're doing the right thing by trying to flip them. I may not be a fan of the tactics around it, but I'll always be fair and kind of allow different perspectives, even though this isn't exactly the way that I'd go about doing it.
All right. So before we get out of here, any thoughts on the 26-year-old Mexican luchador who passed away?
Sad, man. To me, this is more, and again, this is more a commentary for those folks out there that constantly keep saying, "Hey, wrestling's fake. Wrestling's fake." Listen, wrestling's not fake. Wrestling is, yes, the matches are predetermined. Yes, there's cooperation amongst the wrestlers, but all the bumps that they take, all the blows that they take, it adds up. And there's a lot of reality. There's a lot of reality to the showmanship of professional wrestling. This young man, 26 years old, had a heart attack after receiving a chop from his opponent. That is, and the thing about the chop is that that's one of the few instances in pro wrestling where the guys kind of lay it in on each other because it's meant for the sound and the effect to the audience, whether it be the live audience watching in the arena or the people watching it on television. So it gives that effect. And to have this young man, 26 years old, who is 26 years old, is like you haven't even begun to live your life yet. He had been wrestling for 10 years, and he'd been working as in underneath spots and not really in many big shows in Mexico, but he was on his way. And to lose your life at age 26 for something as simple as getting a chop thrown and then having your heart stop. Hopefully what that does is, hopefully what that does is that it gives people who want to keep saying that wrestling's fake, it gives them a little cause to pause. Because I know that, yes, I've seen boxers die in fights. I've never seen a fighter die in an MMA match. And those are shoots. Professional wrestling is supposed to be entertainment or quote unquote fake. And yet this young man died in the middle of the ring after catching a heart attack from a chop. I just want y'all to let that sink in. So if you say wrestling's fake, let that be a reminder to you. It's not.
Yeah, at the end of the day, no matter what it is, the performance, they have to go out there and execute, and the performance is very real. Their movements are real, they're obviously not trying to hurt each other, but things happen, mistakes happen, anything can happen, things go wrong, and, we were all made differently. Our hearts are all a little different. Our brains are all a little different. And we can all, something that might not kill you can easily kill me, So at the end of the day, he went out there 10 years, gave himself to wrestling. They go out there, they entertain us. And, that's why we love it, so.
Man, Godspeed, brother.
Like and subscribe, everyone.